to have you here. Well done, Katie. That was fascinating as always. So I think let's start. Let's go right back to the start. I mean, like Mike said, we've heard from lots of vendors about lots of metrics, lots of methodology, and so much over the last few days on attention. So let's start with what does attention mean to you? Katie, you go first. How would you kind of define attention?
I guess I do love the simplification just to help us really progress on it and then get more and more sophisticated. Attention, looking and or listening to an ad.
Yeah,
John?
I can tell you, it's gone mad, literally mad, attention. I can tell you where we started thinking about it. So when I was at Dentsu 2019, with a team, we wrote the attention economy white paper that spelled out what we kind of wanted from attention. And I'm a massive simple type. It was really simple. It was like we talk about viewability and we talk about lots of digital metrics that are of kind of questionable value. What we really want as media planners and buyers is to understand the media that people are paying attention to and the quality of the experience they're having with that media to understand how we can better invest money. So attention was really about, are people looking at ads, how long for, and what does that mean for the quality of the experience that they're having? It's changed enormously over the last 4 or so years. It's something that's more about, I think, quality, media quality, than it is almost about pure play attention.
Yeah.
I think it's a really difficult question to answer now because I think it's come to mean everything. It's a bit like all the chat about AI. Like everyone's talking about AI now because ChatGPT and the LLMs have come out and DALL-E and all that sort of stuff. It's actually AI has been around since the 40s. And it's really similar case with attention, right? It's a philosophical, all the stuff you just been talking about, how do we get people to look at our ads and understand them and take them on board? But then the reason that it's being brought up now is because there's amazing partners that we've been seeing from that are technically able to measure some form of likelihood to have attention. And so actually when we say attention, we're doing ourselves a disservice by trying to capture both things in one space. And so being really clear on what we mean by attention, which you just did really well, and I laughed at your jokes.
Thank you.
Jokes. I think it's really important. So to me, attention is two things. One, it's either a technical buying, looking down, media health metric thing, or it's a philosophical effectiveness play. And I think actually the two coming together is a real problem, which I'm sure we'll get into now.
Yeah. Well, before we get on to that, obviously it's really interesting what the setup we've got here today because you guys are obviously from very different big holdcos. So it'd be great to actually get an idea of just what your journeys have looked like. They might be very similar, they might be very different, but to hear a little bit about how your attention journey has been so far and I guess how mature that journey is as well. So do you want to kick off, Andrew?
Yeah, we all speak to the same partners, we all know that we're all doing stuff with the same partners, and so we are, I don't know, we're as mature as we all are. Maybe we are less public in specific workflows and work studies and how we do things, but we are far more focused on outcomes and uplift, and that's not to say that you're not, it's just to say that we are less about the PR of attention right now, because we have it built in naturally into our planning systems where we plan to outcomes, so attention is naturally a part of that, and then client by client, even agency by agency, we are driving different tests with different partners, but we're approaching it very openly. We don't have one single definition of this is what attention and this is what good is. It's what's the right answer for this client or for this challenge, which we've always done, right? So that's our approach.
Yeah.
Do you want to go next?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, so I joined Havas a little under 2 years ago after leaving Dentsu, and the brief was simply make this real for clients. So we've gone through a period of full credit to Dentsu and to Omnicom for doing lots of work in the research phases, so proving the value of attention, great white papers and research. And as I came in, it was like, this is great, we will buy this, we will get that attention is important. How do we build that into our planning proposition? So building tools, building measurement partnerships, with the various vendors and partners, and helping clients to navigate the space because, like I say, what was quite pure play to start with is now quite complicated.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we're trying to think of it across the full. We talk about kind of intelligence through to planning, through to activation and measurement. What role does attention play all the way through that suite? So identifying environments where attention is more likely to happen. How do we actually find that and buy that for the right price? And then how do we measure the eventual outcome and effect of that attention? So right through the process. Yeah. And we're still doing it. We've built elements and pockets and we have PR'd them, but there's big bum rush for who's building what first, but always good fun.
And I guess probably lots of you will know because we probably have been on a bit of a banging the drum and had a bit of a PR journey with this. But so yeah, we've been, whilst we have always accounted for attention, as Andrew said, in our planning tools, and in fact we did have claimed kind of attention behaviours and norms accounted for in our planning tools previously. We've we've basically spent the last 5 or 6 years now researching, and we've kind of made that commitment that we're kind of going to try and avoid the speculation and just research, learn, and then apply. And so, you know, we've replaced where we had claimed attention figures with now the observed attention data, and, you know, we've got this in-campaign measure. At the moment it's digital. We want to extend that out into other channels, because I just think I love that granularity of, oh, but if this happens and this changes, what does that mean? And so all the while we're getting this investment that we can carry on doing the research, you know, research, learn, apply, we're going to carry on doing it. And I think there's still lots of things for us to learn.
Yeah. And across like all of those different processes, how have you, I mean, like we were saying earlier, it's changed a lot and there's so many different vendors. How did you navigate, I know it's been a long journey for you guys, but how did you go about navigating between those different vendors? Because that must be really interesting. And
yeah, I think my sort of advice to anyone who's not immersed in it is that there are lots of different methodologies out there, and really it's about getting under the skin of all of them. You know, all of them are labelled as attention, but all of them are kind of have got a different approach in terms of how they're getting to that. And so yeah, we kind of said, you know, we wanted to use eye track data, and so that's the methodology that we followed. But that's not to say that others that aren't using eye tracking data aren't indicative of quality inventory. And as you know, these guys have said, it is about finding.
Yeah. What about you, John?
I think there needs to be a bit with this explosion. I think the ARF being leading the attention validation project. I think Ethan Rapp, who leads that, said he's had 40 responses to the RFI program.
Wow.
So, you know, we have Lumen here and we have Adelaide here, and there are 40 different players who are seeking kind of validation that their approach to
can you imagine what that will be like in a year's time as well?
A nightmare for anyone. So I think we need a bit more delineation in terms of the methodology and what people are actually doing. So I think a lot of what gets, you know, attention's become a hot topic. We're on the attention stage, like it's a zeitgeist thing. But I think a lot of labelling of attention happens with new products and propositions as a kind of trendy thing. Where actually what they're probably doing is more kind of outcomes-based buying modelling. And that's not to say that's not as good. You know, ultimately you get a lot of, you know, we were chatting earlier, you know, I think performance people have lots to answer for in terms of where we are today, because they will go, why do I care about attention? I can tell you this many people converted or this many people bought a product, and I can tell you what drove that. So, you know, you've got a whole group of people who are more into that area of attention or outcomes-based modelling. And on the other side, you've got a load of people who have been, like me, teleplanners, who have gone, we've thought about attention for years. It's something I talk about. Like, why aren't we thinking about context and the environment and the media experience more in digital media? So I think there's different solutions for different groups of people, but we do need to be precise with our language. You know, I've started talking more now about visual attention versus maybe kind of device or proximate attention, and trying to draw some lines. And I think that's where our HOPE programs like the IPA's attention program in the US, the ARF proposition, the Attention Council will help kind of delineate, just to clear things up for people about what is what.
Yeah, we're doing that thing that makes panels boring. We're all agreeing with
each other.
And I think I'm going to dive into one of your points. I think the reason that we're here and why we've got an attention stage is we've been planning attention for years, right? And so we've always had attention partners. There's a reason we plan First in Break on TV, because that's what gives us better attention and better results. And we know there's a cost difference between going in the middle of a TV break and all that sort of stuff. But we've known about attention and effectiveness for a long time. So actually what we're here to talk, the reason why we're talking about now, is we've got digital tracking advancements, right? And then the reason that that's exciting is because digital people have largely ruined planning, right? Because they plan to shitty little metrics. I mean, I've done it. John, we probably argued about it when our first agency. But they plan to metrics that don't mean anything. Click-through rate, for example. I remember going to a client, and he is here, and it was for the biggest supermarket in the UK, so it's 99% of people at least once a year, and their attribution system is amazing. You can create two separate groups of, for Easter meats, for example, or Easter eggs, or any audience, you can create an exposed to digital advertising and non-exposed, and then look at, after 6 weeks, what the uplift was in-store, online, for brand and purchase behaviour. And then I could match that back to click-through rate, and there is zero correlation between click-through rate and uplift in product sales and branding. So I showed this to the performance clients, and they literally shrunk in their seats like this, because all their quarterly bonuses were based on clicks. Yeah. And they said, we're not going to change our targets. That's because digital people have learned to plan to metrics that don't matter, but that can be really easily manipulated and improved. And so the problem now is that's what's happening to attention, which is doing it a massive disservice. So when we see the great work that's going out in public from these guys, that actually the clients are trying to then make that into a digital performance metric, and that's not the point. And so when we come to look at partners, we have to look at what is the uplift that they're going to generate. Is it about media health and the importance of context and that sort of stuff, or is it about driving to performance? Even the last three presentations we've had are all on attention, completely different. And that's the approach we have to take, is what is the point of them, and then how we're going to use them to help our clients' business with us.
Building on that point, so I was talking to some colleagues from a DSP earlier, some of whom were involved in a project for a large FMCG brand, which is basically taking their white list of domains and sites from something like 10,000 down to 100. And in that process, they saw no drop in performance KPIs. So historically, attribution modelling had told them that all those 10,000 domains were delivering some form of performance result and metric. Waste of money. And the reality is, if you had a lens like Attentionally that says, are anyone actually looking at this stuff? Is it a made for advertising website that's delivering a terrible media experience? That lens would have helped the attribution model and helped them to do performance better. So I do think that the biggest divergence I see in agencies, you get performance. I hate talking about brand and performance. I should think of different language. But ultimately, kind of digital performance roles still hanging on to, I can quite easily.
Yeah. Have you seen similar challenges?
Yeah, I guess something I would just, again, so many bills, it's just less the brand and performance thing, but in a way, if we've got to start somewhere, any brand that at this moment in time is kind of paying, because there is a cost to these things. If you are paying for viewability, that's sort of been debunked, really, in terms of the value it's offering. I don't know, why wouldn't you, for the same price, just understand, well, is there a likelihood? And even if you weren't optimising to it, just having that view, when you're piecing the puzzle together, why did this Christmas campaign one year outperform a Christmas campaign the other year? It's just another piece of the puzzle to kind of slot in. So
I'll pick you up on one point around cost, though. I think that another challenge you see from clients, and rightly so, is that new vendors, Lumen, whoever it might be, add additional cost. So they want to work with ad verification partners for fraud and for viewability or whatever, and they see someone like let's say a Lumen as on top of that. Increasingly, we're always challenging driving down non-working media costs. So it's inherent on us to try and prove the value of an additional vendor and what that can help do. If we can help them stop spending and wasting money on 9,900 websites that aren't delivering any value, then great, we can justify that saving. But that's the calculation.
Although this is probably where there's kind of that nice new marriage that you guys have got with Moat. So people, IAS.
It'll be Moat soon enough.
So I guess clients that are already appended to IAS, perhaps it's less of an increased cost. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. And what are the big successes? What have the main successes been?
I guess for us, it's where we are driving that greater improvement and uplift in brand recall. To Andrew's point, we don't want to get sucked into things that we just think are doing well without knowing they're doing well. But again, if we want to ask clients to always pay to have, an uplift study appended to that, then that is an extra cost. When we're also saying we've sort of already done this big body of research that proves that this is better across all these, hundreds and hundreds of campaigns. So, do you need to spend that extra cost to do it there? So, I guess that is a success and a challenge.
Yeah. How about you, Andrew? Yeah,
not much more to add. One of the biggest, I used to work on Mars, and they've been doing attention-based advertising for years. They've got the most amazing global research setup I've ever seen, and they've been looking at the impact of their ads for decades, and they have saved hundreds of millions by just going after effective, not like technically based attention media, but more on the creative side. And so that was an incredibly rewarding bit of work to be involved in. And then we're slowly, there's loads of bits where we've done media health and just making sure we've got quality media and all the stuff. It's all the same, right? It's really similar.
Yeah. And I think another hot topic that's been coming up loads, and I know we've already discussed it between ourselves, but is the big topic. I think this is probably the next step that everyone's interested to know about is the issue of standardisation. And I know we've all got very different opinions on it. So let's go on, John. You kick off. What do you?
I've
definitely flipped and flopped on this. I think I'll talk about those sort of 40 vendors that exist out there. I don't believe any standardisation project is really going to be able to pick apart the highest and lowest value within those vendors, and I don't think that's what they're trying to achieve. I think when you, I see Simon Thomas there, and we talk about the same things around audience measurement is really important. So if we want to use attention metrics to, for example, augment, let's say, the Barb panel or JIX, for example, in other markets, then you need some form of standardization around how we measure that and what we mean by that. So one of the early use cases we thought about was where you can either just reach for presence of people and whether they're looking at screens and get a better articulation of who's actually being reached across media in this sort of cross-media measurement world. And for that, I think you need standardization. I don't think you need it if you're talking about who should use what vendor, for example, because every single vendor I've worked with, spoken to in this space, is showing and proving they're delivering incremental value. And I talked about it earlier. Even if it's about attention or something else, what they are all doing is elevating the importance and the value of the quality of the media placement and the experience that people have in that media. So every single time, no matter whether you look at seconds of attention or AUs or authentic attention, you see that more of that stuff is generally driving you towards higher quality media formats. Difficult at higher CPMs, so that's a tough conversation, but if it's driving great results, then brilliant. So I don't think standardization is needed everywhere. It depends on what. If you're talking about audience measurement, maybe. If you're talking about usage for clients, and I don't think so. I sat in a conference 2 years ago and someone said this won't go anywhere without standardization. I don't believe that's true. Like, pick a vendor, test and learn and see what works.
Yeah, and I
think
think
it already has gone some.
Yeah, and then the other question, I guess, is about then currency, but obviously you need the standardization to get the currency, so it's the same question, really.
There's a lot of chat about currency versus planning metrics.
Yeah.
I think it works in TV, in like live TV, so Barb's a great currency that we can all believe in, but as soon as you standardise stuff, it can be gained. We all remember like 7 years ago when the consultancies amazingly discovered viewability and we all had to move over to QCPMs, right? And then I remember I was working on a global pharma brand and the consultancy came in and said, right, you have to move to a QCPM, which is a viewable CPM. So what you get is last year's cost, last year's viewability, divide the one by the other, and that's the target you've got to be. So my Italians went, right, okay, and they just bought sticky banners. And it's exactly the same with attention. If you standardise attention, I will game it by buying mobile interstitials. It's not a problem, and that is not what we're trying to do. So I'd much rather have a standardisation of an approach and what we want out of it and how we do it, rather than a standardisation of this is a metric. But if we have to do it, I'd rather use it to cut out the shite in the bottom 20% of media than look at it to push
Yeah, it's true. If you think about, if you did standardise and say, right, it's all about buying high attention, which, by the way, nobody's really ever said. It's all been about how much attention you need to do the job you need to do for the brand you're buying for. Yeah, imagine the kind of media ecosystem that would create as well, like pop-up ads in the middle of the screen that gained attention, right. Like big flashy formats. It'd be a nightmare, worse than it is today, probably. So I don't think standardisation in that respect is a good thing, but I think clarity on what the measures are, how they're calculated, should be fundamental.
What do you think, Katie?
Yes, I boringly agree.
Come on, guys.
So that's helpful. So, lots of us have been looking into this and we agree, then actually that's quite helpful for progression. But yeah, I guess I don't feel held back at all, obviously, as you've seen, by us not having standardisation. And I guess, there is that kind of worry and fear that standardisation, if anything, could pull us back for everything that these guys have already said. And, or we get something that's really binary again, like we had with viewability. And actually attention is something we want to approach in a more sophisticated way. And I think it's going to carry on moving at pace because we will carry on learning and improving these measures.
Controversially, I'd say transparency is more key. I see a lot of companies bringing new metrics to market that are black box. So no definition of how they're calculating them, and that's not helpful either. We'll never get that. I'll never be able to go to a client and sell that metric in. They demand ultimate transparency from us. And what we do. And I think if I've got to ask for vendors, it's transparency around what those are. And they often, it's difficult. People start to hide behind algorithms and AI and this kind of stuff. And you go, I think people are smart enough to understand.
But ultimately, you should be able to expose how this model is, the things that it's reading.
It's difficult though, because I've been in presentations where Double Verify will say, like, this is the lever we've pulled up, we've cranked up to 13% of the influence of this total score. And that's cool, but it just means that you get to choose what things impact and you can sort of game it. But then all the ones that are taking in the large data sets and using neural networks, there's literally no way to unpack that. So that's what we have to understand is where do we slide the barometer on how complex and how much data do we want to process versus how customizable and how loose we want that to be, because that is the option for us, right? So it's difficult to be transparent, but also expect huge.
Yeah, and I get it, because for lots of these vendors, that's their secret sauce.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of what makes them special. So I'm kind of cool with that, but I think we need to find a middle ground of at least understanding what goes. I don't need to know every single impression, how it's calculated, you know. But, on the other hand, I'd like to know what goes into it.
And I mean, I always think there's still a few, despite the fact that we're sitting on a massive big attention stage here today, there's still a few skeptics out there. Do you guys think attention's a fad? Where will we be next year?
Attention and carbon. No, I don't think it's a fad. I just think there's been way more talk than there has been action, but that's natural because with anything new, people need time to get comfortable with it. And I think this year we've seen many more brands coming on board and have been willing to start applying it. So I think next year we'll just be doing a lot more of it.
Yeah, I think we always said attention was an evolution from metrics that we had before, and it takes us a step further, gets us more understanding about the quality of experiences. Yeah, but Andrew tweeted a while back and said, bored of attention. I hear it everywhere. It's become this zeitgeist thing. Like, can we talk about something different? Like, we do have a tendency to want to move on to the next thing, but I don't think we haven't landed it. We have been talking about it for 4 years. We haven't properly landed this. This isn't commonplace on media plans. It's not commonplace with vendors. So there's still loads more work to be done. But I think whether we'll be talking about attention or whether the narrative will shift to outcomes-based buying or quality planning, whatever it might be, I don't know. But I definitely think we have a tendency to get bored of the thing quite quickly and want to move. It'll be about AI next year, but I think in some form it will be around. And what I love most about it is it's elevated the importance of good media planning. Again, to Andrew's point, put the planning back into, certainly for digital functions, and think about what we're actually putting out there. And that's super important.
That is such a good point. I do think it's a fad. What I'd like to see is attention be a few presentations on a smaller stage next year where it's all about the brilliant work like you just did that we've done for clients, because I think it's not like NFT metaverse levels of mentalness like this time last year, but it is for a lot of digital people who've suddenly got a little bit closer to effectiveness. It is a bit faddy, whereas for people who can plan, we've all known this stuff, and we're not. It's hard to believe we're not like neuroscientists. The neuroscientists haven't landed what attention is for each individual thing. You've shown John and I the same ad, the same place, same amount of time. They'll have completely different impact to us, right? And so we haven't nailed what attention is. And so the philosophical side of it will go on forever. It has been going on. It will go on forever. We'll never be able to quantify that. That's not a fad. That will bubble on in the background. The current measurement of it is a fad. And it almost does disservice to the partners where like some people are going, this is the new... these are new people who will define what effectiveness is, and they're going, no, it's not. It's all part of the process to being part of effectiveness and to media health, but it's not the be-all and end-all of effectiveness. And so actually they're having a disservice done to them by some people preaching it as the be-all and end-all. So I do think it's faddy.
Yeah, great. I think we're almost out of time, guys. I don't know, I was going to say, I don't know if we're allowed to ask questions from the audience, are we?
Yeah, we are.
We are? Let's do it anyway.
Yeah.
We're the big finale, so we can do whatever we want.
No questions. It was very
No
clear.
questions?
I do think the bar has recently opened though, so might be
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with
Anyway,
us.
well, I think Mike is going to come back.
We have a question.
Oh, Mike has got questions.
Have a. So there's. Oh yes, actually some of them for the last session, but there is one. There's just one coming to. John said that high attention media may be more costly. But for those of you around before morning, in the morning session, the guy from Audi showed higher attention levels, driving conversions at a lower CPM. Are there times where you can get more and spend less, or do you always have to spend more to get more attention?
Generally speaking, that's where if you are starting to optimise towards attention, you find that yes, you're buying higher quality formats on better domains. The CPMs might slightly increase, but through various case studies, we've seen oftentimes you have to buy 5 times less the volume of impressions to drive the same or better results. So you're replacing a load of stuff that doesn't really work with higher cost stuff that actually pays back at far greater results, and that's a great thing. And also the knock-on effects to carbon emissions, double jeopardy, double whatever, triple benefits. You're buying less rubbish and buying more good stuff at a higher cost, but it's paying back and being better for the environment. Like it works on all those levels. But yeah, you will see CPMs go up. My challenge there was, I think you will anyway. If Audi didn't, then great. There's opportunity to identify some environments where attention is a bargain. Brilliant. But I think for most, that's we deal with marketing and procurement people on the client side. talking to procurement teams and going, your CPMs are going up. Then when we've guaranteed you, when we won the business, that we're going to keep them at this level, it's a tougher conversation. But it's one we have to have. Like, we can't just keep plowing on driving lower cost media because it's not working.
Yeah.
It's not working at all.
I think and working with all three agencies at different times, I mean, Lumen has been able to do exactly that. Find cheap media that delivers better. Very hard to do that 2 times in a row because once you've found these media which are underpriced, someone tells them, you know what, you're sitting on a bargain here.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because
too much media out there's been undervalued
Yeah.
for too long, and too much rubbish media has got too much money. Right?
Exactly. It was interesting as well from the Adelaide talk as well that there is a positive news story for everyone here. They were saying that CPMs have gone up by 70% because you're not buying the crap, but also because the existing players are charging a bit more, but you guys are happy to pay it. You know, if the results are good. Guys, thank you so much for the time. Thank you very much for everyone. And Cress, a big hand for Cress for taking the